girls used to go out so guys would buy them drinks.
Right.
Girls don't need to do that anymore. They can go on Venmo and hit up on their social media. Hey, I want to go out with my friends. Send me money. And guys do it. Me understanding that the manosphere is just a direct correlation between the overcorrection of weakness and men trying to be more masculine again.
Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. Ex-PronStar Lisa Ann was on the Digital Social Hour podcast, and she provided some genuinely interesting insight about the manosphere, virginity, modern adult content creator struggles, and the damage being done to an entire generation of men. So we're going to let her cook and see what you can take away from it, because sometimes the most honest voices come from the most unexpected places.
Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we many, we many.
And they lack complete information about the manosphere.
Yeah, I mean, that Manosphere documentary, did you watch it?
Of course I did.
That was an interesting watch because I've had two of those guys on the show, so I know how they are. And I feel like they were portrayed in a certain way.
You know, I thought the interviewer himself had a very cautious approach to stirring up the pot, right? Like Myron and his girlfriend. Like that scene right there, I was like, oh, this is going to play out very differently, which it did. But him sitting in that room during the whatever podcast gave me a different insight of it. Instead of feeling so bad for the girls every time I see a clip come on my feed, I realized, oh, they're doing this by choice because they also want the clicks. And it's a weird space. I'm kind of in this limbo of somebody who turns 54 in May. So I was born in 1972. So the two lives that I've gotten to be a part of are the pre-internet, the post-internet. And so for me, I have to sometimes take a little bit more time to understand, why would a girl expose herself like that? And I'm like, oh, they want the traffic. Like, I'd rather have less traffic than do things that would make me horribly uncomfortable.
Right. That's why a lot of them go on those Manosphere podcasts and get yelled at or, berated, belittled.
And then they're going to make money on their OF or whatever. Either a guy's going to feel bad for him or a guy's going to do it's a strange space. But again, I don't have to like or dislike it. I just learning about it.
Yeah. Myron was smart. He actually recorded everything. I don't know if you saw this. And he's been exposing the real footage. Because with the documentary, they're going to cut some stuff out, make you look a certain way.
And that's the smart thing about Clav. He keeps his cameras going no matter what. People don't know it or they don't like it, but it doesn't matter. What he's doing is showing us what fake news really is. Because if we get to see the whole interview and they only show the parts where he looks the worst, then he gets to back up that story with, nope, here's everything in between that they edited out.
Yeah.
Even Lisa Ann sees it. The documentary was a hit piece, not journalism, not balanced examination, a hit piece with a predetermined conclusion dressed in the language of concern. And she confirms something that this channel has documented consistently. Women had a massive problem with Kevin Samuels. They called him toxic. They called his show dangerous. They organized against it. And then they kept calling in. Why? Because women want to be seen. Attention is currency. And Kevin Samuels was giving them the most potent form of attention available. The truth about how they were being perceived. Even when they hated the message, they could not stop consuming it. Because being seen, even critically, is better than being invisible. That dynamic is the entire dating economy. In one sentence.
I worry a bit about the drug use and the conversations about the drug use. The pushing of, I need to look like a man right away. We know that it takes young men a long time to develop, and that's why, men get better looking as they get older. Not always the case for women, but for men it is. And so I feel like that concerns me a bit. But the manosphere to me is the overcorrection from the woke ideology that everybody was being forced for so many years. I read an interview the other day with Melissa Etheridge, and she has some boys, and one of her boys came to apologize to her that he's straight. And I thought, wow, we're living in this space right now where young people have been put so much woke in their face that they're now afraid to be who they really are and not to blend in with some sort of criteria that is clickbait or talk about.
Right.
Keyword, criteria. This is why movies suck these days. Without checking the criteria list, the movie will not get funded. It is not about making a good movie anymore. It is about spreading a narrative. That is why you have boys apologizing for being straight and the manosphere being labeled toxic for simply going against that narrative. But Lisa Ann just said something that we've been saying for years. The manosphere is not the problem. It is the response to the problem. When you spend a decade telling young men they are toxic, broken, and a threat to society, they are going to find someone who tells them they are not. That is not radicalization. That is human nature. You do not get to manufacture the wound and then complain about how people are treating it.
When the management companies came in, it really changed the dynamic of the customer need. It became a almost Burger King, if I may, like have it your way.
Yeah.
New member comes in, they don't say hello, how are you? They only say is, do you have scenes with white nail polish on? Do you have scenes with your hair in a ponytail? Do you have this? Because it's become that specific because the management companies have people 24/7 that will go into the hard drive and Google and search it and be like, yes, here's a ponytail scene. We'll sell it to you for $30. Your need is met. And it's created a niche where these guys are isolating themselves even more. If you can only be turned on by a woman because she's wearing white nail polish, that's a big problem. You don't see the woman herself as beautiful. You don't like her curves, her hair, something about her smile, none of that. It's about your obsession with it. That's when it gets super dark. That's an incel trait.
Yeah.
So it's created more incels because of this need being met, and it's made it much harder for independent creators to run their page.
On demand. Listen to a prawn industry veteran explain the damage from the inside. Men are not attracted to women anymore. They are attracted to fetishes, niche obsessions, isolated details, divorced entirely from human connection. That is not liberation. That is a prison built one click at a time. And the industry built the walls. We talked about this in our AI companion series. When human connection gets replaced, whether by a chatbot or by a screen, the brain rewires around the substitute. The substitute becomes the reference point, and real women become the disappointment.
Because when you're sleeping, they're answering messages 24/7. You can't be doing that as a person. I have a digital twin, so I use my AI. That's my way of saying, hey, I'm sleeping. So if you want to chat, go chat with my digital twin at OChat, and she will make you new photos. She will chat with you. If they chat with me in the DM and it's a little bit more, because I don't sext, I've never sexted. I don't want to sex with a stranger. That's just weird. You know, when I got into business, we shot beautiful scenes and people just like to watch them. Now there's these expectations where it's like, no, I watch your scene. I like it. I should be able to have you do 10 more things for me. And if you don't want to do those 10 things for me, I will charge back on your page. Like, they're nasty, nasty.
This is exactly where AI companions are going to change the landscape in ways people are not prepared for. Because if the brain is already rewiring around a screen, an AI that talks back, remembers you, and never disappoints, is not a big leap. It is the next logical step in a journey that started long before AI existed.
Yeah, and speaking of virginity, I looked up the stats on that before this episode. Really high. I think it's almost at an all-time high for the number of virgins in America.
Which is mind-blowing because everyone wanted access to on their phone and thinking it was going to be the right thing. No one in the industry ever created scenes with the hopes that anybody under 18 years old would watch them. We knew 18 was the year, the age, kind of like drinking, buying cigarettes, the same things, government-regulated industry. Now, when you allow your kid to have a phone, your kid's 10 and they're curious and they find something, they're on a gaming device and pop-ups are coming up. They're going to go there. Where does that take them? It doesn't take them closer to sex. It actually takes them further away from sex and adds years to them being virgins. And now you flip the script and there's creators on these platforms that are also virgins and they're bragging about being virgins. I have nothing against people choosing to be a virgin. If you're saving yourself for your special partner, that's great. But I can't imagine a young person is on OF to stay a virgin.
No.
And I don't know why the women want to be selling something that they don't love, because when I got into the business in the 90s, the women actually all really loved sex. Like, we were a curious group of women that wanted to do things that we could never do at home.
We covered this dynamic in our previous content. Research shows the majority of women participating in adult content are making a conscious choice. They love the work and they love the money. But here is where the feminist argument collapses completely. Feminism is pro-choice. That is the foundation. But the pro-choice argument was built around bodily autonomy as protection, not as a commodity. Now, the same movement that said, do not objectify women, cannot say anything when women are objectifying themselves, because that would be anti-choice. so they stay quiet, and the industry expands, and the men watching rewire, and the women not in the industry wonder why men are treating them like content instead of like people, and nobody wants to connect those dots out loud.
For their first scenes, because remember, if you go to a tube site, the algorithm is going to show them the most popular scenes.
Right.
The most popular scenes on that algorithm are the scenes that are the least shot. They're the most violent, the most aggressive, because maybe there's 100 of them and there's 1,000,000 of the others. So of course, those people that want to watch that girl getting choked, there used to be a site called Facial Abuse, and that site was the girls would. I had an agency for about 4 years in the industry, and there was a girl that was flying home from doing facial abuse. I did not book it. This was before she was with me, but she ended up reaching out to me because the police at the airport detained her.
What?
Because her face was so beat up from the scene.
Holy crap.
And they didn't want to let her fly, and they wanted to find out what happened. And so those are the scenes that surface to the top due to the algo on tube sites. And when you have young people watching that for their first interaction, that is traumatic. And it's causing something like, oh, I can't do that. I'm never going to be that man. I'm never going to be good enough. And like, think about the insecurity that that's building. And then you become the 30-year-old virgin asking random chicks on the internet to have sex with you.
Algorithm, algorithm, algorithm. Follow the money, gentlemen. This is business. This is emotional capitalism operating at its darkest level. The algorithm does not care about your mental health. It cares about your watch time. It does not care about what it does to your ability to connect with a real woman. It cares about whether you come back tomorrow. Just like the Manosphere documentary chose the most extreme characters, not the average men having legitimate conversations about their lived experience. The adult content algorithm pushes the most extreme content, not because that is what men naturally want, because extreme content generates more engagement, and engagement generates revenue. The result is a generation of men whose reference point for intimacy has been shaped entirely by an algorithm optimizing for clicks. And then we wonder why there is a disconnect with real women. You built the disconnect frame by frame, click by click, and then you documented it and called the men broken.
Right? Because now these young men are having a harder time dating than ever, because for the first time ever, the girl can make more money having fake sex with people online through their pages. So why are they going to go on dates? And it's sad for young men, because that used to be a cool age. Now, I remember being young, you're both kind of broke, you go out for a beer bucket special, you have a great time, you do little things. The girl's not going to do that. She could be home on her OF. She could be webcamming. She'd be making money. Now she's making more money than the guy's making. Now it's even harder for the guy to ask her out. When you're equally broke, you have this neutral, like, hey, we're
There's
cool.
a chance.
Yeah, we're all kind of just struggling around. Or girls used to go out so guys would buy them drinks.
Right.
Girls don't need to do that anymore. They can go on Venmo and hit up on their social media. Hey, I want to go out with my friends. Send me money. And guys do it.
Those are not guys. Those are simp jutsu masters. And I want to be clear about the distinction because it matters. A man who opts out of a rigged dating market and focuses on building himself is making a rational decision. That is what this channel advocates for. A simp jutsu master who funds a woman's online content operation in exchange for the illusion of intimacy is doing something different. He is accelerating the exact dynamic that is making the dating market worse for everyone, including himself. But here is what Lisa Ann just exposed without fully saying it. Why would a man approach a real woman with all the risk, rejection, and emotional investment that requires when she is making more money selling fake intimacy online than he makes working 40 hours a week? The economics of the attention economy have fundamentally broken the courtship dynamic. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, and the women selling the juice are proving it every day.
You're right. She just went on the Iced Coffee Hour podcast and she revealed her bank account. She has about 5 million.
And I'm sorry, but that's not much money.
Not after making 100.
It's not much money. And also, if you're going to buy cars and things at that age, we've seen athletes do this. Like
All the time.
young people coming into money, it's almost a curse. It
You're
really
not ready.
is.
You're not ready.
You're not
mentally.
ready. If your first check is you're 18 years old, you go on a set and they give you $1,200 to do a scene, you don't realize that you have to take the money out for the taxes. You have to think about the 10% you spent on wardrobe, whatever. It's not yours. And that's a hard lesson to learn. And even though state by state, California's just signed on where you're going to have to pass a basic financial literacy course to graduate, which
Really?
I think should be mandatory throughout the entire United States.
I needed that when I was in high school.
We all did, because as soon as you got a job, you got credit cards sent to you in the mail. I got my $300 from Gap, and I went right to the Gap and spent it all. And then for like a year, I was paying what they told me to pay, and I sat down with my uncle. I'm 16. I sat down with my uncle, and I said, why isn't this changing? He's like, let me teach you about credit cards.
Sophie Rain made $100 million. She has $5 million left. That is not wealth. That is a lesson in what the industry actually thinks of the people it uses. The audience that generated those numbers has already moved on to the next one. Nobody is asking how she is doing. Nobody is running a campaign for her financial literacy. The algorithm consumed her output and discarded her at speed. But here is the perspective most people miss. Most people will never see $5 million in their lifetime. So even the cautionary tale comes with a number that sounds aspirational to the average viewer. And that is exactly how the recruitment works. The industry does not advertise the 5 million. It advertises the 100 million. And by the time the lesson arrives, the algorithm has already found the next one.
Bars and clubs are dying right now. 54% of people are sober in America now.
I'm purely sober.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's a new era. Like people aren't going out like that.
It's a new era. And I also think for younger people, financially, places started to get so aggressive of what they were charging for drinks that people are like, hey, let's just get a couple drinks at home.
Right.
Or let's just hang out. But I don't think this is going to be as much of a drinking generation coming up. And look,
Lisa Ann said something that should make everyone stop and think. The Manosphere is an overcorrection. That means we pushed young men so far towards self-erasure, apology, and invisibility that they had to swing hard in the opposite direction just to feel like men again. You do not get to manufacture that wound and then complain about the treatment men chose for it. You do not get to spend decades telling boys their masculinity is toxic and then act shocked when they find communities that tell them it is not. You do not get to build an attention economy that monetizes fake intimacy and then wonder why men cannot connect with real women. And you do not get to make a documentary about the most extreme voices in a movement and present it as the whole story. The Manosphere exists because something real was missing. And until the people asking why men are angry start asking what made them angry, the conversation is going nowhere. This channel is part of that answer, and we are not going anywhere. Listen to all, follow none.
Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.